All right, let's dive into the latest Eagles drama, because right now the noise is louder than ever. The offseason rumor mill is spinning nonstop, and the name that keeps coming up is A.J. Brown. Everyone seems to have an opinion about where he might end up. From the Buffalo Bills to the San Francisco 49ers and every team in between. I'm hearing all of it too. But there's one part of this story that most people are missing. Trading A.J. Brown could actually save the Eagles money. Yes, you heard that right. A move that sounds impossible might make financial sense. And that changes the whole conversation. Before we even get into A.J. Brown, we have to talk about the coaching carousel, because that has been moving faster than anything else. Mike McDaniel is officially headed to the Los Angeles Chargers. And Eagles fans have been reacting like it was a personal betrayal. The truth is, it never really felt like Philadelphia was the right fit for him. McDaniel has always seemed like a West Coast guy. He was the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, then he went down to Florida. And now he's back out west with the Chargers. It does not feel like a slight against the Eagles. It feels like a lifestyle choice. Reports suggest his wife and kids are from the West. And that kind of factor matters more than people think. And let's be real. The Chargers actually have potential. McDaniel might believe he can unlock something there. And I do not blame him for wanting the job. But the Chargers' situation is not exactly stable. People love to criticize the Eagles and say the offensive coordinator job is unstable in Philadelphia. But if we are talking instability, look at the Chargers first. They have a long history of firing coaches and coordinators, and they are always under pressure because of Justin Herbert. The question always becomes, why can't he get over the hump? The coordinator gets blamed. And it is almost always the same story. Remember when Kellen Moore went to Los Angeles? He had one of Herbert's best seasons, and he still got fired because they did not reach the next level. So if you want to talk about instability, look at the Chargers before you start pointing fingers at the Eagles. Either way, best of luck to McDaniel. He is going into a tough situation. And now the Eagles have to keep moving forward. That brings us to the next big name in the Eagles coaching search. And that is Brian Daboll. The Eagles officially interviewed him. And that is a big deal. Daboll is a name that carries weight because of what he did in Buffalo with Josh Allen. People forget how raw Allen was when he first entered the league. He had a huge arm. He had speed, but he was unpolished and inconsistent. Daboll was the coach who took that raw talent and turned him into a superstar. Even though Allen still has turnover issues, you cannot deny the progress. Daboll got the best out of him. And that is a rare skill. Then Daboll went on to the Giants and had a promising start, getting them to a playoff win with basically just Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. After that, things fell apart, but the early results were still impressive. The Giants' problems were not all on Daboll. Bad management decisions, poor draft picks, and injuries all played a role, but even with those issues, there were moments where you could see Daboll building something. He had something going with players like Saquon Barkley before the injury, and he was starting to get things rolling. With a young quarterback like Daniel Jones, it is not perfect, but it shows he can develop talent. And the fact that he did so much with Josh Allen in Buffalo is enough to make Eagles fans excited. I remember before the Eagles hired Nick Sirianni, I was pushing for Daboll because I saw what he did with Allen. People were skeptical when Buffalo drafted Allen, but Daboll made that pick look brilliant. Now, I am not saying Daboll is a miracle worker or that he is perfect. He is not. But he brings energy and fire, and that might be exactly what the Eagles need. The offensive coordinator position is thin right now, and if the Eagles do not lock someone down soon, they could be left scrambling. I am not just worried about the position itself, but about the message it sends to the team. The Eagles need someone who can push Jalen Hurts, someone who can push Nick Sirianni, and someone who can bring accountability to the offense. Daboll is the kind of coach who does not back down. He is not afraid to challenge the quarterback, and that could be the spark that Hurts needs. The interesting part is the history between Daboll and Hurts. Daboll was the coach who benched Hurts in Alabama, and that could make things awkward, but it could also be a good thing. Hurts needs a coach who is not afraid to challenge him and demand more. If Daboll can bring that intensity and still build a relationship with Hurts, the results could be explosive. The Eagles need someone who can demand excellence and not let the team settle. If they do not get that, we could be stuck in the same cycle of underperformance. I will admit I am nervous about the notification that might pop up and say, Jim Bob Cooter is the new offensive coordinator. For the Philadelphia Eagles, that would be a move that would frustrate a lot of fans, but I am trying to stay positive. The Eagles need an experienced offensive mind, someone who can step in and make a difference immediately. There are too many job openings in the league right now, and the Eagles need to land one of the top candidates, and the reality is, some coaches might hesitate to come to Philadelphia because the future of the team feels uncertain. That uncertainty is real. People wonder about the offensive line, about whether it is declining, and whether the Eagles are willing to commit to Jalen Hurts long-term. From a bird's-eye view, it is hard to know what the plan is, and that uncertainty makes coaches think twice. You do not want to come into a situation where the foundation is shaky, and the quarterback situation is unclear. The Eagles need stability, and that starts with hiring a coordinator who can help set a direction. Now let us circle back to the biggest name in the rumor mill, A.J. Brown. His situation is complicated, and the speculation is everywhere. Some reports suggest he wants out, and fans are divided. But the truth is, A.J. Brown is still the best weapon on this offense. Even if he had a poor game against the 49ers, he is still A.J. Brown. He is still the player who gives the Eagles the best chance to win it all. When you look at the NFC Championship picture, the Eagles had the talent to compete. They could have matched up with the Seahawks or the Rams, and if the offense was clicking, they could have gone further. But the problem was not the players, it was the lack of a competent offensive coordinator. If the Eagles had traded A.J. Brown back in October, it would have been a sign that the season was over. It would have been a surrender. But the Eagles did not do that. They chose to go for it, to fight for the championship, and even though the outcome was not what fans hoped for, that decision shows that the team still believed in their core players. A.J. Brown is part of that core. He is a leader, a great role model, and a player who does not create drama. He might tweet a few times, but he is a cool guy. If the Eagles can keep him, they should. But if he truly wants out, you cannot hold a player against his will. If he is not invested, he will not perform. If he wants to leave, then the Eagles have to consider a trade. The question is where he would go. There are rumors about the 49ers. But I would not want to see A.J. Brown in San Francisco if the Eagles are going to trade him. The Buffalo Bills make more sense. The Bills need a true number one receiver, and Brown could be the missing piece. But before any trade happens, the Eagles need to hire an offensive coordinator, come up with a plan, and talk to A.J. Brown. They need to make sure they are doing everything they can to keep him, because if he is on board, he can still be the difference maker. The idea that Tanner McKee could be traded to the Miami Dolphins has been gaining traction, and while nothing is confirmed, the prediction makes a lot of sense. The Dolphins are in a position where they need stability at quarterback, and McKee could be a viable option for them, especially as a bridge quarterback. Miami has a talented receiving corps, and if Tyreek Hill's future becomes uncertain, having a quarterback like McKee could be valuable. He might not be the long-term answer, but he could step in and lead the team for a season while they evaluate other options. The way the league is moving, teams are willing to take chances on young quarterbacks who show potential, and McKee has shown enough in practice and limited action to make teams curious. For the Eagles, trading McKee for a mid-round pick is not a bad outcome. It would provide some draft capital, and it would also open up a roster spot for the team to bring in another quarterback who can compete. The Eagles have already lost Kyle McCord, who was expected to be the safe backup option. He is now with the Green Bay Packers, and that leaves a gap behind Jalen Hurts. McCord was supposed to be the quarterback who could step in and provide stability if Hurts went down, but now that he is gone, the Eagles have to decide what their plan is. Will they draft another quarterback? Will they bring in a veteran? Or will they take a risk on a young player who could develop over time? The Eagles have to look at the bigger picture and think about the direction of the franchise. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, and he is the face of the team. But the Eagles also need to think about what happens if something goes wrong. Football is a brutal sport, and injuries happen. The backup quarterback position is not just a roster spot. It is insurance. It is the difference between a season that stays alive and a season that ends abruptly. The Eagles cannot afford to be careless with this decision. They have to make sure they have a quarterback who can step in and keep the offense competitive. At the same time, the Eagles also have to consider the salary cap and how they are going to manage the roster. Trading A.J. Brown could save money, and that could impact the decisions they make with the quarterback position. If the Eagles do trade Brown, they may need to invest in the offensive line or in other areas of the offense. The team is already facing questions about the future of the offensive line. And if they lose Brown, they will need to find other ways to keep the offense functioning at a high level. The offensive coordinator will also have to be involved in these decisions. Whoever takes the job will need to understand the roster and how to maximize the talent they have. The reality is that the Eagles are at a crossroads. They have a talented core, but they also have uncertainty. The future of the team is not as clear as fans would like. The offensive line is aging, and there are questions about whether it can remain dominant. Jalen Hurts is still improving, but he also has limitations. The Eagles need to decide whether they are going to commit to him long-term or start preparing for a future without him. That kind of uncertainty makes it harder to attract top coaching talent. Coaches want to know what they are walking into. They want stability, and they want a clear plan. Right now, the Eagles have talent, but they do not have clarity. That is why the next few weeks are going to be crucial. The Eagles need to make a move on the offensive coordinator position. They need to find someone who can bring a vision to the offense and help the team reach the next level. They also need to decide what they are going to do with A.J. Brown. They need to determine whether he is part of the future or whether they are going to move on. And they need to address the backup quarterback situation. Tanner McKee could be a piece that helps another team. But the Eagles need to make sure they have a plan in place. The idea of McKee going to Miami is interesting because it would give him a chance to show what he can do in a real NFL setting. He has shown flashes in practice and in limited opportunities, but he has not had a true chance to prove himself. Miami could be the place where he gets that opportunity. The Dolphins have a strong roster, and if McKee can take advantage of that, he could build a case for a bigger role in the future. He could become a starting quarterback, or he could become a valuable backup who can step in when needed. The key for him is to get reps and to show that he can handle the speed and complexity of the NFL. For the Eagles, moving McKee would also mean they have to be smart about their draft strategy. They may need to target a quarterback in the draft, especially if they believe Hurts is not the long-term answer. Or they could look for a veteran who can provide stability, while a young quarterback develops. Either way, the Eagles need to make sure they have a plan. They cannot just hope that everything works out. The NFL does not work that way. Teams that succeed are the ones that plan ahead and make smart decisions. The Eagles have a talented roster, but talent alone is not enough. They need structure, leadership, and a clear vision. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. In what is being described as one of the most shocking moves of the offseason, whispers from inside the league suggest that the Philadelphia Eagles may have just pulled off a blockbuster double signing that could reshape the NFL landscape, according to sources close to the team. Two of the league's brightest stars have allegedly agreed to terms with the Eagles, sending fans and analysts into a frenzy as speculation swirls about the impact these additions could have on the franchise. While official confirmations remain scarce, insiders indicate that the negotiations were intense and kept under wraps until very recently. The identities of the players are being tightly guarded, but the buzz suggests they are both established figures known for their game-changing ability and leadership on the field. If these reports are accurate, the Eagles front office has demonstrated an aggressive approach to constructing a roster capable of immediate contention, signaling to the rest of the league that they are not content to merely participate. They intend to dominate. The timing of these rumored signings has only fueled the intrigue. Industry watchers note that both players have previously been linked with multiple teams, making the sudden alignment with Philadelphia all the more startling. Fans have flooded social media with theories and speculations, debating how these potential acquisitions could alter the team's offensive and defensive schemes. Analysts have pointed out that such high-profile moves often ripple far beyond the locker room, affecting everything from draft strategy to ticket sales and merchandise revenue. What makes this story even more tantalizing is the secrecy surrounding the deal. Executives and agents reportedly moved quickly, aware that any leak could ignite a bidding war or spark public controversy. The Eagles' apparent willingness to make such bold moves suggests a calculated risk, one that could pay off handsomely if the rumored stars deliver on their promise. As the NFL world waits with bated breath for official confirmation, speculation continues to mount. Could this be the moment the Eagles finally make a decisive leap into elite status? Or is this just another tantalizing rumor destined to fuel endless debate? Regardless of the Outcome: the whispers alone have already electrified the fan base. The mere possibility that Philadelphia has secured two marquee players is enough to dominate sports conversations and social media threads, ensuring that everyone is watching closely for the next official update. If true, these signings could mark the beginning of a new era, one where the Eagles are no longer simply contenders, but genuine powerhouses. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.